Hi there, and welcome to the lessons on the IELTS Academic Writing Section Task 2. Throughout this section, we will look at what this task entails, the various question types you could face, how to structure your answers, useful vocabulary, sentences, and phrases that you can use for this task, and how to answer various question types. Well then, we have a lot of work to do, so let's get started. Before we get into the various question types for this task, let's quickly recap as to how this task works. Remember that the IELTS Academic Writing section has 2 tasks, and the total amount of time that you have to complete both these tasks is 1 hour. Ideally, you should spend 20 minutes for task 1 and for task 2, 40 minutes. As for the assessment criteria, you will be marked on the same aspects as task 1. The only difference is that instead of being assessed on task achievement, it will be called task response. If you need to remind yourself about the assessment criteria, you can have a look at lesson 4.1 from the previous section. Now, on to our lesson. We will be looking at the various question types that you could face for task 2. For this task of the IELTS writing section, there are 5 main question types, and you will be asked to write an essay in response to the statement given. Whilst writing your essay, you may need to provide general factual information related to the topic, give reasons for a problem, outline the causes of a problem and present solutions for a problem, justify your opinion or give reasons for your opinion, evaluate evidence and ideas, assess how much you agree or disagree with an idea or the statement, decide if there are more advantages or disadvantages, and explain why the situation has occurred. Let's talk about the question types in more detail, starting with advantage and disadvantage question types. For this question type, you will need to identify the advantages and disadvantages of a situation. Facts about a common situation or common practice will be presented in this question type. You will be asked to discuss the advantages or disadvantages of the above-mentioned scenario. Either the words advantages or disadvantages will be present in the question for you to identify this question type. Let's look at a couple of examples. Example 1. Today, more tourists are visiting places where conditions are difficult, such as the Sahara Desert or the Antarctic. What are the benefits and disadvantages for tourists who visit such places? Here, the word advantages has been replaced with benefits, but disadvantages is still there. Example number 2. Some people think that good health is very important to every person, so medical services should not be run by profit-making companies. Do the advantages of private healthcare outweigh the disadvantages? And example number 3. In some countries, most people prefer to rent their homes rather than buy them. What are the advantages of renting a home? This one is pretty direct. On to the next question type, which is causes and solutions or problems and solutions. As this question type suggests, you will be required to explain why a problem is happening and how that problem can be solved. Usually, this question type will most often start with a brief description of a common problem, which would be a short single sentence. The first question will either ask what the cause of the problem is or ask what additional problems are being caused by the main problem. The second question will always ask how the problem or problems may be solved. Example time. Research shows that some activities are good for health and others are bad, despite knowing that many people engage in unhealthy activities. What is the cause of this? What can be done? The next question type we're going to look at is agree or disagree question types or opinion essays. When it comes to this question type, it will typically state an opinion. Most of the time, a factual statement for context will precede the opinion. Following that, the question will generally state, to what extent do you disagree with? Let's look at an example of this. Some people say that to prevent illness and disease, government should focus more on reducing environmental pollution and housing problems. To what extent do you agree or disagree? On to the next question type, which is 2-part question. Again, as the name suggests, there are 2 parts to this question type. The question will start off with a short statement about a situation or some sort of common practice, and then you will read on to see 2 questions at the end of the prompt. This is kind of similar to the structure of the cause and solution question type, but the difference is that 2-part questions will not necessarily ask you to find cause or solution to a problem. And the example of this question type is, car ownership has increased so rapidly over the past 30 years that in many cities around the world, there are constant traffic jams. How true do you think the statement is? What measures can governments take to discourage people from owning cars? And now, the final question type, discuss both sides and give your opinion. For this question type, you will have to discuss both sides of an issue, while also stating which side you are on personally. Here's an example of this question type. Some people seek a lot of advice from family and friends when choosing their career. Others feel it's better to choose a career more independently. Discuss both views and give your opinion. And there we go, the 5 question types that you can encounter during Task 2 of the IELTS Academic Writing paper. Now, in the upcoming lessons, we will be looking at and learning how to structure your answers for this task. Learn some useful vocabulary, sentences, and phrases, as well as some tips and tricks for this task. So make sure to stick around and join me for the next lesson.